Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with a huge update for the Forbidden and Limited list, which is to be expected. After a Duelist Cup, we always tend to see large ban lists. However, here we're covering a whopping 8 cards that got limited down to 1 copy, as well as a couple of other cards that are being freed from, well, 1 card that's being freed from the ban list and 1 that's going down to 2. So lots to cover today, and this is looking to be one of the bigger meta shifts that we've seen recently here in Master Duel. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get straight on into covering this ban list. Starting up top with the limit of Cupsy Yummy going down from 3 copies to 1. So this is a really interesting way to hit Yummy that they didn't do in other formats, or at least in the OCG, which I tend to follow more closely than the TCG because that also tends to reflect Master Duel a little bit more closely. Although, of course, Master Duel is always going to be its own format, this being one of the many pieces of evidence of that. This is the first format in which Cupsy Yummy specifically is going to get limited, and this is definitely going to be targeting, of course, the consistency of a Yummy deck. I believe in the OCG, they limited Marshmallow as well as Snatchy. Limiting Snatchy will obviously hugely affect how the deck combos and therefore impact its lines. While limiting Cupsy Yummy doesn't really change the combo lines for Yummy, it obviously makes the deck a lot less consistent. Overall, I actually don't hate this hit. I don't think Yummy was so strong that Cupsy necessarily had to get limited. I think semi-limiting it would have also been fine. But I'm also pretty biased. I really like Yummy, so definitely take that with a grain of salt. But for Cupsy Yummy being limited, I like this more than limiting Snatchy. I tend to, unless the deck is really truly a problem, I tend to favor consistency hits a lot more than hits that actually affect like the deck's combo line or end board or its overall power. And I think this is a great example of that. For some builds like Mitsurugi Yummy or Snake Eye Yummy, which already didn't play the max amount of main deck Yummy monsters, you can simply supplement the loss of Cupsy Yummies for more copies of Lollipo and Cookie if you're not already maxing out on them. For other decks like Pure or most notably Sulfur, you're probably going to need to find some other kind of consistency boost. Or maybe you just throw in a couple more hand traps. I mean, Yummy decks are already fairly consistent, right? And Yummy is also not a difficult combo line to go into, even with the Cupsy limited. There are plenty of ways to do it. All you need is a Link 1 and a level 1 non-tuner. So overall, I think I'm a fan of this change. I personally would prefer to see it go to 2, but I'm also pretty biased, so I think overall this is pretty good. Stake Your Soul, going from 2 copies down to 1. I believe this is the only hit we're really going to see for K9 Vanquish Soul, which I think is fine. I don't think it really needed that many hits, even if the deck got first place. You know, a lot of people tend to put a lot of stock into what actual place the deck got, you know, only looking at the first, second, and or third place deck and being like, these are the best 3 decks of the meta, right? When really what you need to look at is not only the top 100 overall, but the meta pool overall. You're going to get a lot more data from looking at more decks, right? So I can just see a lot of people saying that K9 VS won, it got first place, therefore it is the best deck and it needs to be hit more. But I don't really think that's necessarily the case. It's often a lot deeper than that. As far as Stake Your Soul being limited, I think this is perfectly fine. It's another like slap on the wrist consistency hit for K9 VS, but I don't think it really needs much more consistency hits than this. Maybe in the future at some point Holly Sue will go to 1. I know a lot more people want to see the K9 stuff hit more than the Vanquish Soul stuff, and I tend to be on the same boat. So maybe we'll see like Jokel or Izuna get hit in the future, but yeah, Stake Your Soul going from 2 to 1, I think is overall fine, and it doesn't really affect the gameplay of K9 VS that much, except for, again, a minor consistency hit that you will notice over the span of a lot of games. Mitsurugi Prayers, we just talked about this. A couple of days ago, we had a video on the OCG ban list talking about how Prayers and other cards went from 3 to 1, including another card on this ban list, which is so funny, because I got like, I think more than one comment actually saying, like, OCG format is so different. These hits are irrelevant to Master Duel. And it's like, what are you talking about? All the cards that got hit on the ban list are in Master Duel. They are completely relevant. And I think this definitely proves my point. Mitsurugi Prayers going from 3 to 1 is an excellent change. I really like them hitting this more than like putting Habakiri from 2 to 1, right? Because as I mentioned in that OCG ban list video, you know, limiting Habakiri doesn't really do that much. It hurts pure Mitsurugi more than anything else, which, granted, to be fair, pure Mitsurugi with a splash of Ryzeal is what's doing really well right now, right? That said, I don't think Habakiri is ban-worthy. I don't think it's that good. Prayers is a card that is extremely good. I would argue in a lot of Mitsurugi hands, it's way better to see opening than Habakiri. This card kind of does everything, right? It's a searcher, it's a reviver, it tributes stuff, so it lets you dodge targeted effects. It lets you trigger the search and summon effects of your Mitsurugi ritual monsters, and of course of your main deck monsters as well. It just does everything. It literally does everything for the deck, and I think limiting it is completely fine. It's funny because a lot of people talk about monsters being circulars, but I think spell and trap cards can also be circulars. Circulars, of course, quote-unquote, meaning a very powerful standalone card for an archetype that grants multiple beneficial effects, and Mitsurugi Prayers definitely fits that criteria. Not sad to see this card go to 1. I think it's totally deserved, personally. Solemn Judgment going from 2 to 1, as well as Solemn Strike and Solemn Warning. So we got the 3 Solemn counter trap cards all going to 1. These are, of course, played in Odeon, and while Odeon didn't have as big of a showing as some of these other decks that were hit in the Duelist Cup, I can definitely see why these and other cards got hit from the Odeon deck. Really, at the end of the day, it's just like, I know we're playing in Master Duel and it's best of 1, and it's already inherently going to be coin flippy in that regard, but Odeon is the ultimate coin flip deck, where if you go first against Odeon, if you, the opponent, go first against Odeon, you're pretty hugely favored to win. But if the Odeon player wins the coin flip and goes first, they are so astronomically ahead by simply setting 5 and then passing. Obviously, they usually do more than that, but I'm just kind of paraphrasing here. So I really like seeing these counter traps in particular go, because it doesn't really change Odeon's game plan or hurt the core of that deck's strategy, but it kind of makes these unrespondable negates much less frequent, and I'm a huge fan of that. Again, especially in a best of 1 format where the Odeon matchup is so polarizing, there definitely needed to be something that happened here, and I think limiting the Solemn cards was just about the best thing you could have done. Of course, this not only affects Odeon, but also any other back row based decks that were using these cards. For Solemn Judgment, it's most often Stun. I guess Strike is also used in Stun a little bit, but yeah, either way, definitely glad to see these cards go. And those are all the UR cards. And actually, you know, we look at the number of URs hit, and there are 5 different cards here. And like, if you owned all of these, that's 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 URs are getting refunded. I want to point this out specifically because I saw some people kind of talking about the Dracotail hits and being like, oh, look at Konami dodging UR refunds again. It's like, look up. Like, I urge you to move your eyeballs half an inch upward. Listen, I'm not like a Konami defender by any means, but one thing I am, as I've stated many, many times on socials and even here on the YouTube channels before, one thing I am pretty quick to call people out on is just like complaining for the sake of complaining, which Yu-Gi-Oh players do a lot. And people complaining about the Dracotail hits all being SR, I think are doing exactly that. Again, I'm not here to glaze Konami. I think they're a pretty not great company, to put it very, very mildly. But like, come on, I'm not gonna like ignore things that are literally in front of my eyes to see the world that I want to. You know, that's just foolishness. Anyway, going down here to Dracotail and the SR cards, we're seeing Dracotail Lucius get limited from 3 to 1, as well as Rahu Dracotail getting limited from 3 to 1. Now, even though people are kind of saying that these refunds are here to not refund UR cards, if we look at the actual UR cards in Dracotail, right? I don't think Arthelion should have been hit, because they do really need 3 copies of that card, and if you were to like limit Arthelion, I've seen a couple of people talking about doing that, that would just, I think, outright kill Dracotail. It would give them no grind game, no amount of follow-up, not even really many plays on the opponent's turn. That I think would be too much. I've also seen calls to limit or even ban 5 mana, which I also think is way too much. Even limiting 5 mana I think is way too much, because the deck lives or dies by 5 mana. just referring back to other YouTube comments I remember from the OCG ban list video, I remember someone talking about how like 5 mana should be banned because it's way too easy to include in a deck. I just remember the sentence like, all you have to do is include 5 mana and now you can start bouncing boards, and it's like, well, it's not nearly that simple, right? Like, you need to fuse with another Dracotail monster, so you have to have a critical mass of Dracotail monsters, and you have to have a critical mass of monsters in general. If you've ever wondered why the only spell and trap cards that high-end Dracotail decks play are their own archetype cards, it's because you need those 30+ monsters to be able to consistently actually fuse with 5 mana. You don't want to open 5 mana plus a hand of all other spell or trap cards, or one other monster and a bunch of spell or trap cards. So, I actually don't think Dracotail is quite as bad as some people online are making it out to be. I think it deserves to get hit, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's like the end-all be-all. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are going to doom, period. It's what they're best at, especially about whatever deck they perceive as performing the best. So, anyway, that rant aside, I really like these Dracotail hits, like I said, because they don't ruin the deck of the core of the deck strategy, but they also take out some consistency, you know, buffs. I guess, really, it's more of a consistency debuff here. They're debuffing the consistency of the deck while still keeping the core of the strategy intact, which, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is something that I'm pretty much always approving of. So yeah, Lucius going from 3 to 1 just means you open it less often, just means you might see 5 mana as a result slightly less often, but again, really doesn't change the core of the game plan. Neither does the limiting of Rahu, but this one I think you will tend to feel a little bit more, this card being limited. You're definitely going to have to prioritize shuffling it back with the Dracotail trap cards, right? And of course, if this card ends up getting banished, that's going to affect you in a grind game. But overall, again, it really doesn't mess with the game plan that much. And yeah, I like these overhitting the Dracotail URs. I guess you could have hit Ketu or Malulu instead of these, and like that also would have been fine. But at the end of the day, it's like if you hit Malulu, they can just play more Cartesias if they're not already. And Ketu Dracotail, I just think that card has less impact on the deck's overall game plan than Rahu a lot of the time. Like, yeah, Ketu's insane going second, but Rahu's insane going first or second. So, yeah, I think these hits are fine. I definitely don't think they're bad at all. And Solemn Warning, of course, we have already discussed. So those are all 8 of the cards that got limited. So basically we're looking at Yummy variants, Canine Vanquish Soul, Mitsurugi variants, Odeon, and Dracotail being the decks that got hit during this ban list, which if you look at the top 100 results of the Duelist Cup, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Also, by the way, let me know if you want to see me cover the top 100 Duelist Cup decks here on the channel. I've done so in the past, but also in the past, those videos didn't get like a ton of views. So lately I've been doing it more over on patreon.com/hexlex, where I post stuff 3 times a week. And none of that stuff is the same as what's uploaded here on YouTube. And in fact, I'll often put videos that I think will perform a little bit better on Patreon than YouTube, if that makes sense, over there. So lately I've been doing that for Duelist Cup results, but if you really want to see them here on the main channel, I see a ton of comments saying that, I could definitely consider revisiting that here. But anyway, a couple other cards to talk about. Treasures of the Kings going down from 3 to 2 copies. This being a more direct hit to Odeon, hitting the actual archetype itself and taking down their consistency by a bit. The deck definitely tends to live or die by the field spell, not only for setting up its plays, but also, of course, for counting as Temple of the Kings, and therefore getting you the benefits of that. This one, I do kind of think, I don't know. I guess no, I was going to say maybe they should have hit Man with the Mark instead, but really if you think about it, Man with the Mark is so much easier to stop than Treasures of the Kings. In fact, Man with the Mark is like kind of your biggest saving grace if you see it, and you're going first against Odeon, because if you're holding an Imperm or an Ash Blossom and using it against Man, there's a lot of hands where they just have to pass after that. So I take back what I was about to say, that they should have semi-limited Man instead of Treasures. No, I like them keeping Man at 3 and making the Odeon plays easier to stop, and semi-limiting this instead. Good choice, Konami. I agree. Alright, and then finally, the only card on this ban list going from fewer copies to more, Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures going from 1 copy to 3, which completely makes sense to me, right? Obviously the Millennium Engine, while in the past was very powerful, has not been seeing a lot of play, and therefore Golem is totally good to go back to 3. And I cannot emphasize enough how much I love changes like this in Master Duel. If this were the TCG, Golem would be at 1 for the next 5 years. No, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 5 years. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Prank Kids Meow Meow Moo is still banned in the TCG. Just let that sink in for a second. I really don't like paper ban lists, especially the TCG, for how kind of predatory they tend to be against these engines that are no longer profitable to them, but could still potentially perform well in the meta. Which is why I really like Master Duel actually giving players a chance to play with these cards again when they have an opportunity to be relevant. I think even in the OCG we tend to see, like in their latest ban list, like Sprite Blue is only just now going to like 2 copies, I think, from 1, which is kind of insane. So always love Master Duel's ban list for being willing to unhit stuff literally multiple years sooner than the TCG or OCG would ever dare to do it. Okay, so those are going to be my thoughts overall for this ban list. Definitely let me know what you think as well in the comment section down below. But I think that's going to go ahead and do it for now. Thank you as always for watching. Super appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Great way to support the channel. And speaking of supporting the channel, we're going to move on now to our outro so we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.